Tuesdays with Murray, Chapter 8. Alright. Where was I? Right here, in front of my computer. That's the problem. Bill Murray isn't in front of my computer. He's not in my apartment. I'm not going to find him in here. I'm going to find him out there, where I've seen him 1,000 times before. Ted doesn't believe me, but I see him walking all the time. He never stops walking, this guy. And he's always walking alone. He once told the newspaper that he didn't like entourages or bodyguards because it made him feel like he was going to be assassinated. Maybe that's why. It's like, I know everything about Bill Murray except where to find him. I have to get out. Outside. Walking. Okay, I'm going. But I have to make a rule. If I'm going out, this has to be strictly for searching for Bill Murray. I can't keep spending money on things like coffee and expensive beer. I'm certain this will pay off, but I can't spend like it did until it does. I'll bring water. It's included in my rent. And I have one of those big water bottles I bought for those hot yoga classes that I never actually went to. I was unstoppable, like a slinky, dressed in jeans, a hat, and a black winter coat down the steps of my apartment. Made it outside, took a deep breath. Some guy in a suit almost walked right into me while he was staring down at his phone while he walked, and he told me to watch it. I think a lot of people think they've mastered texting and walking, but the truth is more people have mastered not getting hit by them. I walked around the block before crossing the street and down a sidewalk that was like entering a brownstone forest with short parking meters in place of tall trees. With every turn, I hoped for a crowd. The empty stretches of sidewalks were wastelands of lost opportunities, while the crowded ones were filled with people and possibilities. Through the human fog, I had never studied so many faces while trying to picture what they looked like under their hoodies, behind their sunglasses, and without big headphones. With no tangible signs of Murray, I had to invent them. A guy wearing a Ghostbusters t-shirt, someone with a Bill Murray tattoo on his arm. I told myself that they were the universe communicating with me. It had to be, right? I mean, why else would a person not be wearing a jacket while it was freezing outside? Clearly, the universe wanted me to see his Bill Murray tattoo. Murray may not be on a map like Everest, but it didn't mean I walked a path without arrows. Last year, Bill Murray had just inserted himself into a kickball game somewhere in Brooklyn near my apartment. He just stepped up to the plate and kicked the ball when it was rolled to him, and he started rounding the bases. People didn't even realize it was him under an orange hat. They thought it was just some guy. That level of obliviousness was not a luxury I could afford. After about 2 hours of walking, I was back outside of my apartment building. Like one-night stands that end years later at the altar, I didn't mean to end up here. It just sort of happened. No better nor worse than when I started. Gray concrete under my feet and a glass door in front of me. Although unsuccessful, I felt accomplished for trying. It was better than nothing. Wait, what the hell is wrong with me? In no way is this a success. This was a failure, and I was feeling accomplished. I was an adult polishing his participation trophy. And today my trophy was just this giant empty water bottle, and the rush of victory was just me having to pee. I had to choose between heading back upstairs or on my Bill Murray walkabout that could only have had less of a destination had it been done on a treadmill. My eyes gazed down, my boots just a few unfortunate inches from dog shit that some unsanitary shithead left on the block. Ugh, how many germs have I tracked into my apartment over the years? There's no such thing as shoes. Just canvas and leather wagons of disease and bacteria we strap to our feet. I can't go upstairs right now. The mere thought of entering my apartment felt like making snow angels on a petri dish. I should keep looking. Ugh, why? This isn't going to work. Just because I went one way and came up with nothing, it doesn't mean Bill Murray is in the other direction. This is so stupid. I looked to my right and saw a sign in a stairwell pointing towards the L subway. Maybe this was another sign. Maybe I shouldn't limit myself to above ground Bill Murray seeking. I had been inventing signs all day. Why stop now? Once at the subway entrance, I headed down cement stairs, avoiding the metal handrail children were always being told not to touch by their parents. The subway tunnel was many things. It was a shelter for the homeless, a stage for performers banging out drum solos with paint stirrers on white buckets, next to Rastas selling incense and comic books. It had all the accoutrements of a music festival, albeit a shitty one, but a music festival nonetheless. The air became warm and slightly more rancid with each step. Some say the subways smell like urine, but if your urine smells like this, see a doctor. You could feel the vibrations when the express line rushed through the station, and when the trains came to a halt, their brakes made a screeching sound like a velociraptor's long curled nails down a chalkboard. There was a famous blog where this guy approaches and asks random New Yorkers questions with a camera. Sometimes they were homeless and they talked about their struggles or how they used to be successful before some traumatic event. He received prolific answers often enough that he could post daily and had 1 billion followers on Facebook, and a best-selling book that he published based on those posts. What the hell? If he could make a book out of his Facebook posts, why can't I? Maybe I should ask someone down here where to find Bill Murray. What the fuck was I expecting? This is stupid. I'm going back upstairs. I was about to turn around, but then I saw a man whose sunglasses, long hair, and laid-back demeanor kind of made him look like Jim Morrison at the end of the tunnel. He was seated next to the turnstile on top of a bench, and countless people passed him, but some, without stopping, threw money into his flimsy fedora in front of a white cardboard sign. It was tough to read, but I squinted and could tell the sign read, "Ask me anything," with a dollar sign. And the hat was filled with assorted change and dollar bills. I walked over until I was standing 3 feet in front of him, but I wasn't sure if he knew I was there. He just stared straight ahead, his legs crossed, and him perched on a bench like some subterranean yogi. Behind his sunglasses, I couldn't see his eyes. Were they open? Was he asleep or meditating? Why does it feel like everyone is more at peace with the universe than I am? It was freezing, but he wore no coat over his untucked blue flannel shirt. But I suppose not having a coat is one of the many pitfalls of being homeless. His Converse sneakers looked like they had walked in eternity, but he couldn't have been any older than I was. "So do I just ask you a question?" "Do I have to pay for that one?" I asked. He replied calmly, "Put some money in the hat and you can ask me whatever you want." My wet footprints behind me and my feet were freezing from the snow that found its way into my shoes. Though I had left the apartment saying I wouldn't spend any money, it would seem that I would have no choice if I wanted to continue. What an expensive city. You can't even ask a homeless man a question without throwing money in a hat. He probably heard about how much money the guy with the blog and the book is making off of them, and he's rebelling. Good for him. Well, are there answers you seek, or are they not? Wait, no, that's not what I wrote. Well, are there answers you seek, or aren't there? He asked. I told him, "You don't understand. I left my apartment today and I made a rule that I wouldn't spend any money." He stared, straight ahead, unflinching. "How is living life so dogmatically working out for you?" he asked. "Not well, but hypothetical questions are the gateway to bad decisions." "Why don't you just answer my question for free? Charging seems dogmatic, don't you think?" "It's more of a store policy than a dogma," he said. "There comes a point in every man's life where he asks, am I going to continue down this path that has been paved for me? Or am I going to throw some money in a hat and see what life truly has in store?" "This is a point in every man's life?" I asked. Of all the milestones I had heard of, riding a bike, learning to drive, graduating, getting married, having kids, all were familiar rites of passage, but this one had apparently fallen by the wayside. Despite the spiritually guided fortuna that led me here, this half-baked premonition he had shared sounded like the marriage of pothead philosophy and snake oil sales pitch. "Are you ready to see how deep the rabbit hole goes?" he asked. "How deep does the rabbit hole go for $1? "Deep enough," he told me. Took out a $5, the only cash I had on hand, and threw it in his hat. It landed next to change and singles that I then counted, trying to take back $4. "What are you doing? It's a hat, not a register," he barked. "Well, I don't want to leave a $5. I'll tell you what, we're running a special. For $5, all you can ask. It's like a buffet of knowledge." He was lighting a cigarette with a lighter he took from his shirt pocket. He blew a smoke ring and then lines of smoke like missiles out of his nostrils. "All I want to know is, how do I find Bill Murray?" "The actor?" he asked. "The actor." "No idea." He said it conversationally and brushed his hair behind his sunglasses. He continued to take drags off his cigarette and even offered me one, which I waved away. Unemployed and in a race to bankruptcy is not the best time to pick up a $12 a day cigarette habit I had kicked a year prior. "How do you not know?" I was mad. I was mad at him for not knowing and mad at myself for being foolish enough to think he would be able to help. He lives in a tunnel. He's the one who needs help. Without guilt, he said, "I don't know, you don't know. Neither one of us knows." I know I don't know, but you're charging me to ask you questions, I said. Would you rather I have lied to you? Sometimes the universe draws your complementary counterpart to you, the one that fills in the gaps of your knowledge. Today is not that day, he responded. Or at least, that question is not that question. But you have unlimited questions, so... He didn't seem to care that I was an unsatisfied customer. Word of mouth is not the engine that drives his business. Wait, this might help. Every now and then, I see someone who I think is Bill Murray walking around down here. One time, I even got his picture. Look. He pulled out a smartphone and showed me a selfie of him next to a man who was walking but not posing with him. He came out blurry like Bigfoot. That's kind of funny. If you combine Bill and Murray, it spells blurry. Well, you get rid of the M and the A and other letters, but eventually it spells blurry. You keep chipping away and you'll get there. That's like my metaphor for life. Just keep chipping. Or keep on chipping. I should put that on a bumper sticker. Sell those next to my hat. Good gift for an enlightened golfer or, I don't know, an ice sculptor. I saw Bill Murray in a golf movie. Caddyshack, I told him. No, that's not what it was called. I assure you, it was. Not the one dubbed in French, he told me. So what else do you want to know? He was swiping through other photos on his screen. How are you homeless and have a smartphone? I asked. You know, some guy asked me that same question the other day with a camera and a blog. I'm not homeless. No, I actually do quite well for myself down here. I have a PhD in history, but I couldn't make any money with that. So I started answering questions on benches. I answer a lot of questions down here, probably because there's no Wi-Fi. When I wore a suit, people would ask me for stock tips, but I don't know shit about that. One day I dressed like this. People started asking me more general life stuff. I think it's because people want to believe that the homeless have some kind of mystic ability, because they want to believe they can lose everything they own but hold on to everything that's important. Maybe they can. What do I know? I just wanted to pay off my student loans and talk about history. But most of the time, people just ask me where to buy drugs. Usually the same people who ask me for stock tips when I wore a suit. Do you know where to buy drugs? I'm a guy sitting on a bench all day. Of course I know where to buy drugs. He was sitting like a rock star, effortlessly cool, looking like he was posing for the photos to accompany his magazine interview. So not only did this guy make more money than me, he was cooler than me too. You know, he said, sometimes it's only when we stop looking that we find exactly what we're looking for. And we find that the real Bill Murray was right here, all along. He pointed to his heart, and then he tapped on mine. What are you talking about? I said. Honestly, man, I have no idea. I'm pretty burnt tonight. Tonight? It's like noon. Is it? I've been down here for a while. More smoke came from his nostrils as he ashed the cigarette onto the ground that dissolved into the slush as fast as any hope that I had that he could help me. Have a good day, I told him, and I walked away. Tell your friends, he called out to me. I headed back up the staircase and was back in front of my apartment and the coffee shop where I stole Wi-Fi. What was I thinking? Wandering around, looking for Bill Murray? Now I literally have no fucking money on me. Tolkien wrote, not all who wander are lost, but he didn't say they weren't fucked. I was back in front of my apartment building and I had to pee so fucking bad. I knew that if I went inside, the search was over. If the search was over, I'd given up. I can't give up. I'm unemployed. This is my job. If this isn't my job, I have nothing to do. I had to pee so fucking bad, and I knew if I went into that apartment of mine, there'd be no coming out. I'd sit on that couch, and just like that, my future would be altered forever and in the name of comfort. Maybe if I had a more uncomfortable couch, I would be more successful, since I'd have no incentive to be sitting at home. Based on that logic, if I had no furniture, I'd be a billionaire, so that couldn't be right. I had to pee so fucking bad. How'd I finish this bottle of water so fast? Holding it in. My body was twisting and contorting outside of my apartment like a bad magician trying to get out of a straitjacket. If I went into the coffee shop to use the bathroom, I'd be spending money. But I had spent my last $5 on a homeless Google, and he wasn't even homeless. They have a real strict policy about being a customer and using their bathroom, and so do I. As I stood there battling my mind and bladder, I looked right and saw Lydia, my ex who dumped me on Facebook. We hadn't seen each other since, or talked. I didn't want to see her. I didn't want her to see me like this. Unemployed, broke, desperate. You only want your ex to see you when you're with a hotter girl, or at least in better shape. I went into the coffee shop faster than someone who stampedes a Walmart greeter for a TV on Black Friday. If I could use their Wi-Fi without paying, then I suppose I could use their bathroom too. Does this make me as bad as the kids who came in just to pay their drug dealer? No, I'm better than them. I don't know how, but I am.